It's the final countdown.
Doodaloo-doo.
It is.
It's 8 days to go until we take this show on the road for our Too Much tour.
That's wild.
Which, of course, is too much in every sense of the word, but it will all be worth it. We will get there. We can't wait to see you. So, yeah, get your tickets. London is sold out. Quite a lot of them are looking that way.
Yeah.
So please do, if you want to join us for our Dopamine Fest of Too Muchness, a celebration of unmasking and of the ADHD community, and just for anybody who wants to learn more about ADHD from an experiential point of view, because we've always said we're not, we're only experts by our own experience.
Absolutely.
So if anybody wants to find out about what undiagnosed ADHD can look like and feel like, and what the late diagnosis experience can be like to support others in their lives or just to learn in that way, then you're very welcome too, because it's adults only, all genders welcome, and no diagnosis necessary.
Yeah.
And we're going to play bingo.
We are going to play bingo. It's not your regular show.
It's not a talk. It's not a lecture. It's quite a lot of fun, and we would love you to wear leopard print.
Yes, we would. And we're going to have a lot of guests joining us along the way, which is really exciting.
Honestly, because the thing is, all of these people that we speak to and we connect with, we've got such connection with. It feels like we've met them, but we actually haven't met them. So it's so exciting.
So we have so many people from the podcast that you'll recognise, and they're going to be joining us at different events. It's just been announced on our Instagram. So if you want to see a list of everybody, head over to the Instagram page and check that out.
Yes.
And speaking of guests,
what's the most ADHD thing we've done this week?
This season?
Well,
this
actually,
year?
let's backtrack.
Speaking of seasons, yeah. This is nearly a year since we've been going.
Yeah.
We will have done a year. The 53rd episode marks 1 year since we started.
Yep.
So it's like when you turn 40, which for me is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, shit the bed. And it's like, this is my 40th year, but I don't actually turn 40 until the date.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've decided,
we've
learnt the hard way.
Yes, we certainly have.
That we need to take a break.
Yeah.
So it is in the end. It is the end of this chapter. It is the end of season 1 when we hit our 1 year anniversary episode in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the reason being that not only have we been on a hamster wheel, non-stop weekly episodes for a year. Can you actually believe we've managed to pull that off? Touch wood.
Yeah.
Not there yet, but touch wood we have.
Yeah, we've still got to make it there, don't we? Oh, God.
But also, we've changed. We're completely different people than we were when we started.
Like, it's wild. I can't even listen back to the start of any of the episodes because I can't bear to listen to that. I can't bear to listen to that person, to see that person, because, we have completely changed. So, everything's changed.
Yeah, it really has. And so how we're going to do things going forward has changed. So we knew that we wanted to help people by sharing our experiences, but we had no idea quite how much we would, quite how big this would grow. This was meant to be a little summer project in Dawn's break from university.
Yeah.
And instead, this incredible thing has happened, but this incredible thing comes with a hell of a lot of work. And we actually, now that we have built a thing, we need to look after it, to give it some longevity and look after ourselves. So we're going to take a little pause in 2 weeks' time when we are on the road, and we haven't decided quite how long, but not too long, but a little while, so we can finally get our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And we're going to get advice and have people support us and just enhance and make everything better that we're doing with the podcast, with the community and with our lives.
Exactly. We need to figure out what works best for us going forward, what works best for everyone else going forward. So the podcast is going to take a break. However, we're still going to have our amazing community. That's not going to stop. We're still going to be
be on the Discord.
Yeah, be on the Discord, talking to people. And yeah,
doing
talking
all
about
the different things that we do in the community, like live blethers and
Yeah.
body doubling and all of the wonderful things, that will continue. So if you are looking for peer-to-peer support, please do still join us.
Yes.
And you'll get exclusives of what's coming next as well when we come back for season 2.
We'll be figuring everything out along the way. And so if you are a member of our community, you'll get the gossip
The
first.
scoop
You'll
in
get
real time.
get the inside scoop. Absolutely.
As we go and figure ourselves out. So with that said, what's the most ADHD thing we have done this season?
Well, obviously, everybody that's coming to join us on the tour, our guests, have appeared on the podcast at some point. Apart from a couple that we promised that we would get on, and then we realised we hadn't gotten on.
Yeah, because obviously, and people sometimes forget this, unbelievably, we really do have ADHD. It's not a joke, right? So we mess things up all the time.
Yeah.
And scheduling is hard. And so we realised that we only had a certain amount of episodes left, and we'd missed out a couple of people that are really important. So what we've done is managed to get 3 absolute legends together, interview them separately and put them together in one episode. And they are the wonderful Jessie B, life coach, who is actually one of my friends.
Amazing person.
Lovely to have her on. Zoe Joanna Coaching, who is our new friend, who we met here, who joined us in Aberdeen for the first event. And we have Rosie Turner, who I'm sure many of you will know from the ADHD Untangled podcast.
Yeah.
Now, what I really, really love about this is our other scheduling boo-boo, is that we realised we had 2 ADHD coaches both speaking in Norwich.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh no, we've messed this up. So this is what I love so much. We love so much about the ADHD community, is that in speaking to both of those lovely ladies, they were like, great, because that's the point, is we're all different. There are no 2 people that are the same that have, well, anyway, but there's no 2 ADHDers that are the same. There are no 2 ADHD coaches that are the same. So these 2 women have completely different ways of doing things.
And so they're excited to meet each other.
They're excited to meet each other. So it's fantastic. And we're really excited to share everyone's stories.
Yeah, we really are. They're great women and they're doing great things. Let's go.
Yeah.
ADHD as females. ADHD AF. ADHD as females. The podcast.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we
are
ADHD
AF.
AF. Seriously. We are 2 neurodivergent neighbours who moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances?
Since discovering the enormous impact ADHD has had on our lives and the horrifying numbers of missing undiagnosed females, it has become our mission to make some serious noise.
We want to use our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others.
So join us for a chat, or as it's called up here in Aberdeen, a blether.
Trigger warning, we will be covering some really sensitive topics, so please do have a read of the description of each episode before listening.
It's important to note that we are not medical professionals, we're not therapists or coaches, we're not qualified to offer advice or support. What we will do is share our experiences alongside resources and information from professionals. We will talk over each other and we will go off topic and forget the point mid-sentence.
We are both assigned female at birth, which means that we can only speak from the experience of life as AFAB people. However, ADHD AF is an inclusive space. Whatever your gender, you are very welcome here.
Yes, you are.
ADHD as females. ADHD AF.
We are joined by a very lovely local lady who also joined us at Too Much Aberdeen. And we just wanted to talk to her because she's a legend. Will you please introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, so I'm Zoe of Zoe Joanna Coaching. I am a neurodiversity coach, and I say I'm a neurodiversity coach because neurodiversity literally means a diversity of the human brain. So I predominantly coach people who have ADHD, autism, or AUDHD, the combination of the two, or ADHD, or ADHD, however you want to say it.
I've never heard ADHD. I like it. It's like so solid crew.
ADHD. So I basically help people similar to myself. Obviously, I have ADHD. And so I support others who also show up as neurodivergent. So this could be people who are self-diagnosed, formally diagnosed, people who suspect they may have ADHD or
Because
autism.
self-diagnosis is valid.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yes, definitely welcome here. So yeah, so with that, it's very much meeting people at various stages of their journey as well. So I've had people who've had ADHD, for example, for a long time come to me, and they might just want to, I don't know, change careers, or it might be something just very like action orientated in terms of like, I just want to do this or I just want to do that. I need to do it with my brain and like understand how to work with my brain to get those things done. And then I've got other people who meet me who are just newly diagnosed and like, I've just discovered this, but like, how do I actually work with it? What do I do with this information? I don't know who I am anymore. This is like thrown up so much. And so it's very much meeting people at these different stages and figuring out what's the best route for them.
Helping them navigate it.
Yeah, basically, I've very much likened it to, I've recently coined the term the forest approach, where now I see it as we've all been living in this like huge forest and there's all these different paths, all these different obstacles. And we're often just standing there like, I don't know what direction to go in. I don't know what path to take. I don't know how to overcome certain obstacles. And then we see other people just navigating this forest, seeming to just get by. They can just go down these paths. They can like take pictures of the forest and have a great time and overcome these obstacles.
Yeah.
And then we often like think, oh, well, then I'll follow them down the path. Or oh, I'll just go down this path and see where it leads me. And then we often end up where we don't necessarily want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I kind of come in and I'm like meeting you in the forest, like, hey, like you look a bit lost, let's talk about this. Let's see, what path's going to be right for you. Let's give you the tools that you need to navigate this forest and overcome any obstacles. So you're not just blindly going about this forest. Like you can go through this forest, but it might just look a bit different.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a huge part of what I do because I feel like for a lot of people, it's still, oh, okay, I have ADHD, but like, how do I still get this to-do list done? How do I like clean every single Friday? And for a lot of us, it's going to look different, right? Because our brains work differently, but we're still trying to fit into this neurotypical world, if you want to call it that. And so with what I do, it's very much like you could clean every Friday, but it might just look different. You might have to do it just before the kids get home, so there's a time crunch. Or you may have to put on some banging tunes, then you can like have a dance party while you do it.
Yeah.
It's just building that acceptance and awareness of what you need.
Yeah.
Being comfortable with what you need rather than just like, oh, try and do this. It's like, well, no, what is going to work for you? Like, what have you tried before? Why hasn't it worked?
Yes.
Let's make sure this is going to be the right thing for you.
That's amazing. So tell us about yourself. Like, how did you come to get to this place of doing this amazing work?
So I've had counselling and coaching myself on and off. It's like since my probably early to mid 20s, to be honest. And that's always really helped me. And I've really learned a lot about myself and been on a long like self-discovery journey. And it's always something I wanted to do. I was always told I was a good listener and I was always fascinated by just like psychology and just how we worked as humans. Because with my own ADHD, I just never understood just how friendships work, how relationships work, just how life worked in general. So I've always been discovering this.
Yeah.
I always had my own limiting belief that I could never have my own business. I could never be an entrepreneur. I could never be successful. I had all of these limiting beliefs. And coaching really helped me unlock that. So then I started, after I kind of worked through it last year, I then went on a coaching course. This is before I found out, obviously, I had ADHD. So I went on this course. And then towards the end of it, someone in the coaching community who was autistic said, oh, I'm running a neurodiversity workshop if you want to come. And I was like, yeah, I'll like go to that, see what that's like. and then they were talking about ADHD, and I was like, oh, this hits home. This like really resonates with me. And so I then started doing a ton of research into this and was like, yeah, okay, this is really ticking a lot of boxes. And this is like, I know this is a very overused expression of like it's the missing puzzle piece, but it really, really was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I say, I'd had counseling and coaching and it helped, but there were still these blocks. There were still things I came across. I was like, I just can't do these things, or I was really frustrated at just the progress I was making.
So what were your biggest struggles, your biggest areas that ADHD affected?
I think things like time blindness is a big one. As soon as you hear about that term and it like kind of makes sense to you of like, oh my God, I can't, because I would struggle to say like this project or this bit of work I'm doing is going to take X amount of time. Or even in my personal life of like thinking of cleaning, it's like, oh, it's going to take the whole day, but it might only just take me an hour to do.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing for me. And I think just in terms of my brain just working different and just knowing things like forgetting to say, you know, like my brain just not like, especially when I'm ill like this and I'm on my week before, my obviously like dopamine drops and I really struggle to get words out.
Mhm.
And just knowing things like that is like, it's not just you're stupid or you're broken.
Yeah.
You know, there is something going on with your brain that you're struggling to get words out and I don't know, form sentences, and you're a bit forgetful. And I think the more you learn about it, I feel like ADHD is now a lot louder for me. Like when I'm going around the house and I'm like, oh, I'll pick this up and I'll go do that. Oh, I've just spotted that. And like, oh, where is this? It's like, oh yeah, that's like, this isn't just what other people experience.
Yeah.
This is the way my brain works. And I think knowing, especially because I really struggled with being employed, and then I've tried to be self-employed many times before in the past, and felt like I was bad at both
Yeah.
because I would just struggle with concentration. I'd get bored really quickly. I'd be in and out of jobs every like 2 years because
Yep.
I would get bored, and I never really understood what that was. I just felt like a huge failure. Like anything I try and do, I'll just fail at. And that
Mhm.
really built into this belief I had as well. So to understand it is just I hadn't found the right way to work and like how to work with my brain was a huge relief because it was like, oh, okay, I'm not stuck anymore. Like I just need to figure out how to work with this. So huge, huge relief, but also went through the whole fear of, I think it took me a good 3 weeks to maybe a month to pluck up the courage to go to the doctor because it was just that whole thing of, you know, a lot of what a lot of us experience of what if they say I don't?
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it took a lot of tears, a lot of kind of talking to my boyfriend, bless him, of like, what if I don't? And then, like, I finally went and I had the most amazing doctor. Like, she was absolutely brilliant. Like, I took my, like, printed off my, like, ADHD quiz results and my notebook and was like, here's everything.
Yeah.
And, like, just spoke to her about it. And I was just super emotional. And she was like, based on what you've said in your results, I believe you do have it and I can refer you on. She was like, some people like this stage is enough. I can refer you if you want, but that is more to do with like the medication side of it. And so I did say like, well, refer me on. I'll deal with the medication side like as and when I come to it. And then as I left, I really thanked her and was like, I just so appreciate your time and understanding and let me speak. And then as I left, I remember her stopping me and being like, it is a relief, but be aware. There's also a mourning period for a lot of people when they reflect back on like support, like the lack of support they've had. And so just be aware of that.
Give that doctor a medal.
Yeah.
Jesus
Right?
Christ.
She was amazing. Like, oh my God, I love her so much. But then I sat in my car and was just like burst into tears because I
Yeah.
then started reflecting on that. Like, oh my God, what if I had that support and
Yeah, of course.
understanding growing up? And then I was like, oh my God, the amount of people who haven't or don't still. And that's when I was like, yeah, with my coaching, like I want to start looking into this more and coaching people who have ADHD or some neurodivergent type because it is just like, okay, you've got this, right? You've got this now.
Yeah.
Future art.
And I think that's so great because you can get coached and help through ADHD, but if that person doesn't have ADHD, they can have all the knowledge that they've read about, but they'll never truly understand it because they don't experience it. So having someone that is a coach that has ADHD, you know that they can relate. Obviously, everyone's different, but you'll be able to understand it at a level beyond.
Or like not see the blocks as just push throughable.
Yeah.
Just crack on. Just get this. Just. You can understand because you've been frozen and blocked in that way as well.
Yeah, and you're going through it.
Yeah, that's a big thing for a lot of my clients, to have a coach who just gets it. And I think especially if you're very newly diagnosed or trying to figure out if you do have ADHD or autism or whatever it could be, to have someone else there who just understands that kind of process and just what you're going through seems to be the biggest thing for my clients. Like, it's always so comforting to know you're not alone. That's why, like, being part of a community or speaking to others, huge thing. That's one of the first things when I was going through my own diagnosis journey. I was speaking to another coaching friend and she was like, oh, a coaching friend she knows has ADHD. Do you want me to like set you up? And I was like, okay. And then again, that fear of like, what if they speak to me? And like, you really don't. But I'd spoken to them and they were just really amazing. And we just shared so many stories. And it was like, oh my God, I do that too. And it was like, oh, okay, I do have this. And like, I'm not alone. Yeah, it was so special.
100%. So as often with so many things with doing this podcast and the tour, there is serendipity at play. And we got notified on our Discord community that there was a lady in Aberdeen who wanted to start an ADHD like meetup or just connect with people with ADHD.
Yeah.
So Zoe and I went for a coffee, and she's actually from Norwich.
Same place as you.
Well, I grew up in Norwich, not from Norwich, but yeah, I grew up in Norwich. So we've got two people from Norwich who moved to Aberdeen who both have ADHD, looking to do similar things. How weird is that?
Very good.
So Zoe joined us at our Aberdeen event. How did you find it, Zoe?
Honestly, amazing. I remember, like, I turned up, obviously you guys were getting ready. And so I turned up just alone to the event to set up my own little stand. And I was just blown away when I walked in. Like, I remember being very emotional because I was like, wow, this is special. Like, this is big. And it looked amazing what you've done with it. And then to see it start filling up with so many people was amazing. And just, I think as well, seeing you both get up there, because being yourselves in front of people, very scary for us, very vulnerable place to be in.
Very.
See you both doing that and the other amazing speakers there as well. It was just so inspiring. But to see so many people in a room who just got it and just, I don't know, it was just that really special moment of being with like-minded people. Because I especially am obviously not used to that. I am a bit of a hermit. I don't really go out and socialize much. A lot of the work I do is from home, and I've worked from home a lot over the past few years as well. So to actually be around others and speak to so many amazing people and share stories and just hear others and what people have been through was just really amazing. And it was just,
you were amazing as well.
Yeah.
You were fantastic, and we can't wait to do it all again. So where are you joining us?
so I will be in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then my birth city of Norwich.
Yay!
That's so exciting.
So that means you will have been at the first, the premiere, and the closing party, and Glasgow and Edinburgh. It's amazing. Really, really exciting. We can't wait to have you at all of those.
I know.
Thank you so much.
So excited.
Is there anything else that you want to share?
I guess the only thing is, in terms of my work, my books are currently open. So if anyone does want to contact me just for a chat, they can. I am very also open to, I'm not the only coach out there. And I do have other coaching connections as well. And it really is about finding the right coach for you. So if anyone even wanted to reach out and speak to me about like, how do I approach another coach, or do you have recommendations, and wanted just to speak to me about that in general, you absolutely can. That's not a problem. I do a lot of research in my spare time as well. Like, that's a huge part of what I do. I dedicate 2 days a week just to pure, like, what's the latest research? How can I find out more about like what's going on? So I do post about that on social media, not as much at the moment because my work is mainly on my clients, but I am trying to get better at posting. So you'll see more of that from me as well. And I'm happy to answer just any general questions and have a chat. So yeah.
So where can we find you?
So yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as Zoe Joanna Coaching. And then my website is just zoejoannacoaching.com.
Amazing. Well,
Thank you so, so much. We can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, see you
And
soon.
yeah, get this show on the road.
Yeah, exciting. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you
you're
so
so
much
welcome.
for everything.
we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
ADHD AF.
So we are joined by a friend of mine, which is really exciting.
It's exciting.
We've been wanting to talk to Jessie for ages. I've just given it away. My lovely friend Jessie in Norwich, who is actually joining us at Too Much Norwich, which is our last show of the Too Much tour.
It is the final show.
It's the closing party, and it's extra special. And I'm very excited that you are here, Jessie. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Hello, ladies. Thank you
Hello.
for having me on.
Not at all. Thank you for coming on.
I didn't actually know that was going to be your last show in Norwich, so it's like the grand
Yeah.
finale.
It is.
Yeah,
It's the
so-
grand finale.
Wow.
We've started at my home and
Yeah.
we're ending at your home. Yeah.
It's probably the one I'm most nervous about, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
Jessie, tell us about you. Introduce yourself, name, age if you would like, occupation, anything you want to share, really.
So my name's Jess. God, that sounds like we're on Cilla Black. I am 21. I am 42, actually. I am a newly qualified-ish mental health nurse. So my second career, I qualified during COVID, which was fun. And I also do well-being and mindset coaching for ADHD adults.
Amazing.
Because I have ADHD myself, hence why you've got me on here.
That's part of the reason, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
So speaking of ADHD, when did you come to suspect you had ADHD?
I didn't. I did. I was blissfully unaware. Blissfully unaware. I got diagnosed when I started my university journey, like you yourself, Dawn, and it was my second degree. So I did a degree. I've been in hospitality management as my first career.
Yeah.
And I tried a degree back then and I just couldn't finish it. And I've got lots of unfinished courses. So I was seen at uni and I was diagnosed by an educational psychologist. And it was like 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
ADHD. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even know what it meant. She gave me like a handout saying my positives and what I challenged with. And I got a free laptop and I was like, well, hey, and some extra time. And that's honestly, that's kind of my attitude towards it at that time because I just had no clue. And I shelved it. Because I was too busy because I had to do this fucking degree. Like it took my concentration.
Yeah.
So I didn't really start processing it until about 2 or 3 years ago, as I was qualifying.
Did you struggle doing your degree? Or...
Oh my God, yeah, really struggled, and I nearly quit. I think there was 4 times I sat there with my my tutor, but they got me through, and it's just amazing with support and then a bit of awareness and then educating myself what this ADHD thing was that got me through. And as well, I reached I don't know, I've had a few burnouts through my life, ADHD burnouts, I recognise now. Yeah. I reached burnout last January. I burnt out and I had to take some time off work as a newly qualified nurse. And that's when I actually hit up social media. And I think that's when we started speaking about yourself, Laura, didn't we? And that's where I found the most support through social media.
Yeah.
And that's like I'm time blind and my working memory shit, but that was about a year ago. So this is like 5 years after being diagnosed.
Yeah.
And that was just lack of awareness as to what ADHD was. And...
Yeah, lack of awareness and just me being hyper focused on trying to be a mental health nurse. I pushed everything else out of the way because I couldn't concentrate on life, being a mum, the relationship at the time, and it's ADHD. I had to be a nurse, so everything else was. And then,
but had you known about ADHD and how it affected you, and if you had gotten the support and help that you needed, it would have helped you with your degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm on the waiting list now for my clinical diagnosis, which personally for me, I'm a medical professional. I'm not that bothered about the clinical diagnosis because personally, I'm not going to have medication. For me, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really impact my life because I've already made that decision I am using strategies and self-educating, psych education. I'm doing all the things that I need to do to help myself personally. I did a very expensive counselling course as becoming a mental health nurse. So that's a bit of self-development in itself.
The thing is as well, though, it's really funny. Like, you know, we know that self-diagnosis is valid.
Yeah.
Self-diagnosis is valid. You know yourself. The symptoms are there. You know your life. You know how things impact you. Like, and self-diagnosis is even more valid if you have all of that knowledge and experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I am lucky in a sense that I've got that training behind me, and I probably know of extra resources, and I've been within those environments, and I can help myself. It's been there, it's been on my lap. Do you know what I mean? And other people don't have that, so I do understand that. What I'm trying to do with my life now is design my life so I'm in environments that suit me, my ADHD.
Yes.
So whatever I can control, I will control. And I know everybody can't do that or won't do that or whatever the reason. But for me, if I can control my environment to a way that suits me, rather suiting myself to my environment, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's it. Like, I think you spend most of your life trying to fit into this box. It's like the whole square peg round hole concept.
Yeah.
It's about finding the box that's the right shape for you.
Yeah. Or not a box, just day by day.
Yeah, exactly.
Minute by minute.
different boxes, different days, different, you know. Yeah, exactly.
Like I said to you, I'm designing my life into a way that suits me.
Yeah.
I understand myself and why I do things. I've got strategies to help myself, mainly stress management, I would say, because my main symptoms are overwhelm and burnout, because I'm so hyperactive and so distractible. And before, I wouldn't know when to say yes and I wouldn't know when to say no. In fact, I would say yes all the time and never say no. And it's about, you can do things, but knowing your capacity to do those things and working that out for yourself. And then that in itself makes you become more focused on what's important.
Yeah.
And so do you think that all comes from self-understanding, for understanding ADHD, from understanding how ADHD affects you and impacts your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I can recognize in myself when I'm getting quite fidgety and hyperactive and I'm getting distracted by things, and I go and touch that thing and then I start another job. I now actually aware of doing it. Before, I thought that was me just being really busy and getting loads done when it wasn't, because it's not productive. You can help yourself. You can use strategies, and you have to show yourself self-compassion and understand yourself. I say to my clients about, exposure and doing the things that make you uncomfortable, but the things that make you really, really uncomfortable and you can do it a different way, that's okay too. You don't have to put yourself in situations that make you really, really, really uncomfortable if you don't have to. But that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you do this? Like, how do you support people with ADHD? Like, what is it that you sit down with them and get them to identify their struggles, or they come to you with specific things that they need help with, or how does it work?
It's all very person centered, because, as you know, ADHD affects people in different ways, and there's personality interplay with that and other mental health conditions. So they will come to me and say, for example, I'm struggling with emotional dysregulation and RSD, and then we will coach specifically on those areas, which is my background because I'm a mental health nurse. Or I have someone who wants to focus themselves on a new career and just doesn't know where to start because it's a monumental task, and they've got task paralysis and they've procrastination, perfectionism.
Choice overwhelm, whatever.
So then it's whatever the person wants to do, and then we'll go down the route that they want to go down. With coaching, I think mainly having that one-to-one support and accountability, it does wonders for people. Just knowing that somebody's there and somebody who lives with it and gets it as well.
Even if you don't see things the same way, it's like, oh, okay, I get where you're coming from. Like, that's enormous.
It's validating, isn't it? Because you could go to a top psychiatrist who doesn't know anything about ADHD, hasn't lived with ADHD, but they know their shit about everything. And you might not get that connection. And you can go to little old me, newly qualified mental health nurse, disastrous background life, but has lived it with some strategies that know works and some evidence base. It's the connection between the two people.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you know that you wanted to do that, to go into that specifically?
Or coaching? No, when I was in burnout last year and I was laying in my bed and I did not want to waste all that effort I put into being a mental health nurse, and it was like a bit of an epiphany moment. Like, what can I do? I'm not wasting all these years at uni and all this money. I'm not doing this again. What can I? And then that started that momentum. And I am back to mental health nursing, but I work from home, doing assessments from home in my safe green environment.
Brilliant.
But it makes sense. Like, I just think if you're going through something, and obviously if you're working with someone who doesn't understand, or maybe they understand to a point
clinically, but
they can never fully get to that same point of understanding as you are, because your brains do not operate in the same way.
Like for example, with task paralysis, like you could know that that's a symptom and what that looks like, but actually all the solutions that you might think of to solve the problem might not be helpful if you hadn't actually been in that place yourself. To be like, no, I get this. Like,
absolutely.
So
amazing.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to add? Anything you want to share that we've not touched on?
No, I have concentration of 30 minutes just about, and my mind is going to mush now.
That's fine then. Perfect.
And I'm going to kick myself because there should be so much I should say.
That's a great message, because you're practicing what you preach.
Exactly.
Like, you've got to support yourself. This is your time frame, and that's it. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'll just waffle a load of shit to you, and it won't make any sense. And I don't even know what I want to say, so I'm not going to force it. So I'm just happy to be here and actually seeing you guys. So.
Yeah, no, I
wonderful.
think that's a lovely message, in the fact that you're recognizing your needs, you're recognizing what you can do, and you're working with that.
That's the message.
You're not forcing yourself to do anything that's going to make you feel uncomfortable or
whatever.
Yeah.
I could sit now and go promote my coaching business, but I think I've already lost those of potential clients because the fact that I can't concentrate for more than half an hour. But believe me, in that half an hour, you're going to get the best of me. Okay, there you go. That's it.
Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Yes.
And
thanks for having me, ladies.
And we're very excited to see you in Norwich.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's my birthday weekend.
Is it?
Yeah.
Double celebrations, absolutely.
Right, we won't have any more of your time. Thank you so much, lovely, and we can't wait.
And you. Thanks for having me, and see you in May. And I won't miss it because I know when my birthday is.
Yeah.
Cheers, then.
Bye.
Bye.
If you are finding this podcast helpful and you're in a position to do so, we are asking that you help us by signing up to our Patreon. In pledges starting at just £4 a month, it will give you access to our We Are ADHD AF community forum, in which we are both active members and we all support and learn from each other. You will also get access to behind the scenes content, exclusives, offers, blogs, vlogs, the works, everything in the kitchen sink. Your pledge will also mean that we will be able to continue to put out weekly episodes of ADHD as Females, the podcast.
Alternatively, if you would prefer just to make a donation, you can do so by visiting buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as females. We know that our words are helping people in 164 countries and counting.
We really appreciate your support in supporting us to continue supporting the ADHD community.
If you are ADHD AF and you want more ADHD AF, join the We Are ADHD AF community. www.patreon.com/ADHD as females.
ADHD AF.
We are joined by another legend. Will you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi. So my name is Rosie. I'm 34, although I was trying to think of my age before this and I was like, it's definitely 34. And I'm a born and bred Londoner. So I've lived in London and I've lived in London my whole life. I do a lot of different things. So I teach yoga, Pilates, meditations. I'm also an EA. And recently I am just becoming an ADHD coach and have my own ADHD podcast.
Yes, the multi-hyphenate, amazing Rosie interviewed us for ADHD Untangled podcast, which is fantastic. So do have a listen to that if you haven't already. So tell us, Rosie, about yourself. Like when you found out you had ADHD and diagnosis and all of that, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, so all my life, people was always, in a joking way, they would be like, "Oh, you've definitely got ADHD," because I was so hyperactive. I was always quite rebellious, like naughty at school. I broke my arm like 3 times before the age of 4. My mum always tells me these stories. And I was just a bit like, hyperactive and could just never really settle in life. Like even in relationships, like I'd be in long-term relationships, but then I'd get bored or like always seeking something else. I always felt like I wanted to always go away or experience new things. I was quite impulsive, but I didn't know what ADHD meant. Like I just thought it meant you was hyperactive. I didn't really know it was a disorder or it was something that was affecting my life in so many ways. So, throughout my life, it just continued like that. I went in that cycle of trying to do the right thing, like get married and have a 9-to-5 job and fit in.
The societal standards.
The societal standards, like what everyone else around me seemed to be doing well.
Yeah.
And then it'd always get to that point of like around 7 years in after being, trying to play housewife or trying to be in a corporate job and just do all the things that was expected. I felt I'd get that feeling again of like, I feel lost. I feel like I'm not being me. I don't want this for my life. But I didn't know why I felt like that. I thought that was I just wasn't normal, and also I didn't know what that looked like to not do that, not be like everyone else. So after years and years and years of doing that, I started on a yoga journey. So I got divorced, went to India with 2 weeks notice and was like, I'm just going to go to India. I'm just going to learn to be a yoga teacher.
I'll be off.
Yeah, off we go. And I was literally the opposite of what you would think a yogi is normally, represented like. I was partying all the time. I was not that person. So I don't even know. I think I just went to a few classes and was like, oh, I like this. And it was like challenging classes and power yoga and stuff like that. And I was like partying loads and doing lots of bad things for myself. And I think I was just desperate at that point. I think my mental health was like in a terrible, terrible state, like, and I just thought, I just want to get away. I want to escape. And this seems like a good thing to go and do. And after that, things started to get better. Like, I think it was like, it brought a lot of awareness to my life. It enabled me to, manage my emotions a lot better than before. Because I was completely, so unsettled in my life before that. So, I started to regulate my emotions. I had a tool to use and things started to feel a bit calmer. And I was going on this like personal transformation and making all these changes off the mat, because I'd sort of been able to have this tool to calm myself down and notice what I was thinking and sort of see ways out of where I was. Yeah, it filtered to my life off the mat. And I think it does with yoga. I think with things like that, you can't help it. It will always filter into your life off the mat, not just, it's not just on the mat that these things happen. And I think then I started to notice other things weren't right. So, I was like, right, so you've got a tool to manage your anxiety. You're doing other things now. You're changing your life to work for you a bit more, but something still isn't right. So I honestly believe without the yoga, the ADHD diagnosis would never have came for me.
So it's like the presence brought about this awareness that there was something else.
That's so interesting because it was through life coaching that really pushed me into it, because I was trying to work on my life, but I was still struggling.
Exactly.
And couldn't figure out where that struggle was coming from. So that will have been similar, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly that. Because you feel like, oh, I've got this stuff managed, but then why do things still not feel right?
Yeah.
Because I think before that, maybe, you was the same before the coaching, before the yoga, you're just dealing with all the stuff, the madness. So you haven't had that moment to sit down and go, oh, these are the things that are not working. Why is that?
Yeah.
So that was that. And then so I was starting to do quite, I'd say, dangerous things, really. Like my partner at the time, he was like, Rosie, you've left the hob on like all these times. You left the free car doors open. You've literally, she left it there for 8 hours, boots open and 2 doors are wide open. You come back 5 times for your keys. Every time you leave the house. I think I set the cupboard on fire by accident because I'd put a tea towel into the cupboard that had a little flame still left on it. and it was all flammable stuff. And it was just getting to a point that people were like, you know, have you got a brain tumor? And I had scans and everything, like, because I was just like, what is going on? You know, like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think I was always like that, like I said, but I think it was just now that, for one, I'd got older and it was like, Rosie's not partying anymore. It's not a hangover. This is Rosie doing yoga.
That's what clouded my judgment for so long, is because I was hungover for 20 years.
Yeah, this is it. So you used to blame it on that.
All of the calamities, it was because I was hungover.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly that. So I think it was just, again, the awareness, and because I'd changed my life and people were like, well, this is not normal still, you know, what's going on? So out of desperation, I just got on Google and just said, you know, keep losing my stuff. And what came up was ADHD. And even though it wasn't a shock to see ADHD come up, I just didn't realize what that meant. And then, like everyone does, you go on the rabbit hole, don't you? And you're just like, oh my God. So this is why I was so prone to, you know, being sensitive to rejection.
Yeah.
This is why I've been chasing dopamine in all the wrong ways. You know, it just highlighted so much. So got straight onto the forms on the NHS and then didn't hear back for 18 months. And I sort of forgot about it anyway. And I didn't really know there was anything they could do. So it wasn't like straight away I was like, oh my God, I know I can have medication and I know I'm going to be okay once, you know, once I get my diagnosis. And then once I heard, I was living in Amsterdam, I got on a call and they were like, yep, you definitely got it. Combined ADHD. And they was like, we're going to send you some stuff, forms and an ECG machine thing, or blood pressure or something like that. And then I just, you know, being ADHD, just saw the box come, didn't really do much of it for 2 weeks. And then once I'd got round to sort of thinking, oh, I better email them actually. Like,
Eventually,
what
get
am I
round
actually
to
meant
it
to do?
eventually.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh no, sorry, you've been discharged. And we didn't hear back. There was a deadline.
No.
And by this point, I was starting to listen more about what ADHD was and learn. And then I was like, oh shit, like now what? I've got to go back to the beginning again. And then I was getting so frustrated and like devastated, you know, and upset. And because the more I was hearing other people's stories and what their diagnosis had done for them and like the treatment they'd had and stuff. So then I was really lucky that I had a friend that had private health. So they put me on their private health and I've gone through that process now. And I've just been doing it, all the learning and stuff I've just been doing myself. Like, you know, the podcast has been amazing for me, just learning so much about, you know, how ADHD is showing up for all different people and the coaching. And now I have decided I do want to go on medication because I wasn't even sure if I did or not, because I've never, you know, I don't even take paracetamols or anything. I'm always a bit.
Yeah.
Well, for one, I'm not consistent either. It's the same. Like, that's the other thing. So,
yeah.
But now I know I definitely do. They want me to pay to have a meeting about the tablets that I know they're going to put me on because they've already told me, like the ones they would do. So now I've got to just get the funds together to get some medication because I now really
not easy, is it?
No, it's really not. And every day, like when I have a day like where I'm really, really struggling now, and as I mentioned to you before the call, like I think because I've been moving about a lot recently. You know, I've changed from 9 to 5 jobs, being self-employed and taking on all different types of work.
Yeah.
My ADHD does play up quite a bit. Like, you know, even though I've got the yoga and stuff and the meditations, I've noticed it's a bit harder to manage at the moment because of those foundational needs.
Lack of routine. And, you know, your basic foundations are shaky.
Exactly.
And do you find that since you've been diagnosed, your awareness of your ADHD has increased?
Oh my God, so much. And that's the thing. I can't work out on the days that I do struggle is it worse now or is it just because I'm aware it's my ADHD?
Yeah.
You know?
And that in itself's a head fuck.
Yeah, it is a head fuck.
Trying to figure out which one that is.
Exactly that. But when I'm feeling like that and I get really, really frustrated, all I think about is all the people out there that are feeling the same and going through, and even not even at the stage I've got to, you know, I feel really lucky to have I've basically been diagnosed twice. So I'm like, I'm definitely know I've got it. But some people haven't even been you know, they're not even got to that. And then I get so upset with that. And then it just drives me to just do another podcast, go and do my coaching tour. And I just keep thinking this cannot be the case with so many people going
It's
through this each and every day. And it is, because you'd want to give up, you know, because that's the thing. I don't know about you, but a lot of questions I get is people saying like, well, what do I do? Like, what does it mean if I get diagnosed? You know, people don't really know, is it even worth it? That's what a lot of people say to me.
Yeah.
Is it worth getting a diagnosis? And I'm like, it is, because of so many reasons what it does for you as a person, but you've got no guarantees that they're going to get the treatment or the support they need. You can't tell them that.
So what we really, really love about Untangled, like obviously there's so many different people in the neurodivergent community doing amazing things to try and make change happen. And we all sort of have our different angles and our different niches.
Mm-hmm.
And we love your podcast so much because it is so empowering.
Well, thank you.
And your whole thing is like about becoming untangled, and obviously that all really sits with this supporting yourself, like you found those tools in yoga, in meditation. So that's kind of what you're all about, isn't it? And you're going to come and talk to us in Brighton and London.
Yes, I'm going to do both.
So tell us about it. Tell us about what you're going to be talking about.
So my main mission is with ADHD, I think once you know that you're diagnosed, whether it's self-diagnosis or, you know, official diagnosis, you know, we've had a tendency for most of our lives to have a real negative bias because, you know, criticism, we don't believe in ourselves. And my main mission is, and it has been with yoga as well in general, is for people to believe and discover their strengths. So I feel like I've been able to do that for me personally. You know, I've always lacked confidence and self-worth, and the yoga and the meditation and being able to have tools and something for me, have that awareness internally, has enabled me to then look at my strengths and not just look at the things I can't do, and even look at my weaknesses and look at them and say, well, do you know what? Even that I can turn in and see it as a strength now. Like resilience I always talk about, you know, all this times you've felt like you for instance, my driving test, I always use that as an example, 9 times, never gave up. I think I can look at now the challenges and the negatives and turn them into a strength. And I want to do that for other people, especially within the ADHD community, because I think we need that. And I think we need to see the good. We need to see what we can do once we've got diagnosed and our treatment. And just to add to that as well, my message is you can only do that once, so you get that awareness that you've got ADHD and you've got the options for your treatments, because without that you can't see it as there's no way.
You can't tackle it head on and
of course.
So I've been busy recording some ADHD specific meditations because, as I mentioned, I was someone who was totally not the meditation type. They're not sitting there in silence trying to forget your thoughts. They're very interactive, fun. Even the themes, they're very relatable to what we deal with in ADHD. So like healing relationships, motivation, meditation, which you can just do walking around your kitchen. You know, I've put some music behind it. Music's really important for me. And quite high energy music as well. It's not your typical Zen music that you'll hear in other meditations. So
it's like giving you something else to focus on.
And for me, this is what's worked. It might not work for everybody, but you know, I did loads of different types of meditations first and took bits from that I thought, how am I going to keep myself interested and, you know, being able to meditate? So I've just done loads of different types, like different styles. And I find it's always worked for people that don't see themselves as the meditation types.
Meditation for ADHDers.
Exactly what it is. So I hope people love it.
Amazing. Well, we're very excited about that.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So we very much look forward to seeing you.
I can't wait.
In real life, it's so weird meeting all these people because we feel like we've met everyone already. Because
I know.
Spoken to you, it's like we feel like we know you, but we've not actually met you in the flesh. So
all these people that we've had the honour and the pleasure to speak to actually have them in one room. I'm like, I'm going to meet this person, and this person at one place.
I know.
Oh, well, we really can't wait to see
I'm
you.
so
Thank
excited.
you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
thank you for
Yeah.
having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us on the road. Thank you for everything. And we can't wait to see you soon.
Oh, thank you, girls.
Get your tickets. Come and see Rosie in Brighton and or London.
Yeah.
Come and see us wherever you like. We can't wait.
London's already sold out. You haven't got tickets for London. Unfortunately, you're too late.
So you've missed out.
Come to Brighton.
Come to Brighton instead.
Yes. All right, Rosie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
I'm really excited now.
Me too.
I'm really excited. That is just 3 of the 23 legends that are joining us on our Too Much tour at various different events. Actually, shall I read it out?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we have got Nicole Nadler and Rose Owen joining us in Perth.
Perth, Scotland.
Perth, Scotland.
Just for the record.
And the same in Inverness. So the Perth event is at the Bothy in Perth,
Yep.
Scotland.
And that's on the 26th of April.
We've got Inverness, the Tooth and Claw, on the 27th of April with the same 2 lovely legends joining us. So we have got the legendary Nicole Nadler from episode 17.
Yes.
Who is also doing, she's a writer, but she's also going to be doing a show in the Edinburgh Fringe.
Which is so cool.
So cool. So yeah, she's joining us for both those events. Rose Owen from Aberdeen, who does radical honesty workshops in Aberdeen, which is just incredible.
Yeah, they're so cool. If you've not heard of it, you should check it out. She did a little thing in Aberdeen, which was really cool. So she's going to be at those events.
It's
and
perfect for us unmasking, you know?
really, really, really helpful for that kind of thing.
Yeah, her handle is Honesty Aberdeen. We've got the wonderful Sherry Scott, Forever Yours Betty, we hope wearing orange leopard print.
If you're not familiar with Sherry Scott, you can catch her on episode 25 of the podcast.
Yes. And the lady so legendary that we changed our whole colour scheme for on social media.
We really did, yeah. She's joining us at the Corinthian in Glasgow, and that's on the 29th of April.
Alongside Zoe, who we just heard from, and Rose and Nicole. In Edinburgh on the 30th of April, we are at the incredible Royal Scots Club, where we are joined again by Zoe, Rose and Nicole.
Amazing. And then next up, we have Newcastle at the County Hotel, and that's on the 1st of May. And we will be joined by the incredible disability campaigner, Kat Owens.
Our canny campaigns.
Yeah.
The lasses are uniting.
I know.
Very excited about Newcastle. Very excited about them all.
And so you may be familiar with Kat from our
Activism
extras. And then we also had Kat on episode 48.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Then we go to Leeds on the 2nd of May at Old Woolen for our first birthday party. So that is an extra special one. That is 1 year of ADHD AF.
It's actually quite weird because my dad originates from Leeds, and so that's kind of like my second home is Leeds. So yeah, that's quite exciting to be celebrating our first birthday on the 2nd in Leeds.
It's very special. So we are joined by Joe Charlin.
Yeah, so Joe is from episode 21.
And honestly, Joe, I just can't wait to squeeze him. To be
Yeah.
honest, so excited to see Joe.
He's a total edge.
We've got, sorry, I've just lost my place. We've got Siobhan O'Connor, Not So Secretly Sober, is also joining us in Leeds.
Yeah, and Siobhan joined us on episode 33.
And then we have Priyanka, Little Miss ADHD. We can't wait to see her as well. She is from a more recent episode.
Yeah, she joined us on episode 46.
So that is Leeds, first birthday extravaganza. Then we've got Nottingham on the 3rd at Cozy Club, where we are joined by our wonderful maker, Rebecca Cowley, who you will remember from the bonus blether in which she talked about the inspiration behind our collaboration, ADHDF, with Working Class but Jewellery. And she found out that she had ADHD through listening to our podcast and has since been diagnosed.
Yeah, and she was a bonus just after episode 29.
Yeah. So then we've got Birmingham on the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars Day at Tonight Josephine, where we are joined by my nearest and dearest, Stephanie of All the Discos, who does our other jewellery range.
Yeah, and she was on a bonus blether after episode 32.
Alongside Rebecca Cowley will be joining us again, and my team, the Emporium of. So the legendary Ashley and Sam are joining us to DJ, and it's going to be extra, extra special. So that is Birmingham. Manchester, we're at Salford Lads Club, and I'm so geeky and I'm so excited about it. That was the only place in Manchester that I wanted, and that's what we're doing. So it makes my life that we're doing that. So that's 6th of May. We are going to be joined by extra special guests, Dr. James Brown and Mrs. ADHD of the ADHD Adults.
And if you haven't heard of them, you've been hiding under a rock.
They have heard of them.
So obviously we've got James, who joined
I
us.
think he's episode 5.
Yeah, he was our very first guest on episode 5. And then we had Mrs. ADHD, who joined us on episode 30.
Yes, then we've got Priyanka again, Joe and Siobhan for Manchester in a
It's-
very special, iconic venue. Too excited for words.
It's a big guest list, isn't it?
It is, and the Emporium of are joining us for that, or
It's
at least most of them.
Jam-packed. It's
Jam-packed.
going to be a goodie.
Cardiff, we have got on the 7th of May at Another Tonight, Josephine. Honestly, I'm just so excited to go into those venues because the lighting and everything is
Yeah,
just
the
so
aesthetic.
spot on.
The aesthetic is so good.
Where we are joined by the legendary Louise Williams, Pink Pear Bear,
Who joined us on episode 13.
Hannah Baxter,
Who joined us on episode 19.
and our previous guest, Coco. Talk to Coco.
Who was, on just the recent one, episode 50.
Yeah, so that's Pink Bear Bear ADHD, Hannah B Fitness, and Talk to Coco, all in Cardiff.
So exciting.
We then move to Bristol to Another Tonight, Josephine, on the 8th of May, where we are joined by the 3rd ADHD adult.
Alex Connor.
Dr. Alex Connor is joining us.
Louise Pink Pear Bear is also joining us.
So is Jacob Kelly, and he better bloody sing Adele. Cannot wait to see these people.
We need a bathtub for
We
him.
need a bathtub. If anybody can sort that out for us in Bristol,
So,
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and Alex was on episode 9, and then we had Jacob on episode 43.
Yes, and we've got Rebecca there as well.
Amazing.
So then we go down to Cornwall to an incredible venue called Old Bakery Studios in Truro on the 9th of May. And this is where serendipity steps in again.
This is wild.
This is ridiculous. So the legendary Hannah Walker-Brown of Late to the Party, award-winning author
Yeah, she joined us on episode 31.
from episode 31, was meant to be joining us in London and couldn't, and then said, let me see your dates again. You'll never guess where I'm going to be on the bloody 9th of May. Only Truro.
Out of all the places.
Of all the places.
And it was the one place that we didn't really know.
We didn't have
were-
anybody
yeah.
who'd been on the podcast that was local.
Yeah, so we were struggling to think of who we could get down to that area, and it just so happens Hannah's there.
Can you believe that? So that's a very special event happening in Truro. Brighton, we finally got there, people. You have no idea how much work it took, but we've got it.
Yeah.
So Brighton at the incredible Harbour Hotel, right on the beautiful seafront. I cannot wait to go back to Brighton. I lived in Brighton for 4 years of my life. 10th of May, we are joined by the legendary Claire Jacobs of Single Parent and Pessimist from the podcast Mindvox Pod, for which we were interviewed.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you haven't listened to that interview, then do, because we love chatting to her, and she's from episode
She came from episode 36.
36. And then Rosie Turner is also joining us, Rosie from this episode, in Brighton. Then we've got London, which is sold out, which is just ridiculous and
Madness.
exciting. Downstairs at the department store in Brixton. It's literally a stone's throw from Brixton train station, if you're wondering, on the 11th of May. And we are joined by the lovely, so excited to meet her, Abigail Ajay MBE.
Who joined us in episode 41. And we also have Rosie Turner again in London.
And then the grand finale, the closing party, is in Norwich at the Flint Room, where I got married, and is across the road
So
from my high
special.
school, on the 12th of May, where we are joined by the one and only Helen Anderson.
Yeah.
Helen Anders is joining us alongside Jessie B, Zoe Joanna, and our Steph of All the Discos.
Yeah. So Helen Anderson joined us on episode 15. And that is it.
The show must go on. You're welcome.
And then we're probably going to have a little bit of a rest.
And then we're going to have a little lie down. So, if you haven't already got tickets, go and get them now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be extra special. It's wonderful that we had the experience of the Aberdeen event because we could see that actually people can come on their own
Yeah.
and connect with others. People who were nervous left feeling very happy that they'd come. People came as support for others that were like, I don't really know anything about this, and left feeling like they'd learned a lot.
Yeah.
It's really just about coming together. It is a celebration. You know, some of the topics are triggering because we do talk about our experiences, but there is humour there. Just as with our Most ADHD thing, we kind of laugh at the ridiculousness of it all, and it brings us all together.
Absolutely. It's spreading awareness, but it's doing so in a way that, you know, empowers people to harness their ADHD and find the joy and find the happiness in...
And find their people.
Yeah, and find and not be alone.
Because peer-to-peer support is everything, as we have learned in our community. I just want to say, and we say this a lot, but then it's always going to slip through the cracks, that the reason why we wear leopard print, it's a multitude of things. One is that it's both of our fashion hyper-focus, and obviously I do Leopard Print Sunday at all festivals, which is now part of our mission with the Emporium of.
Yeah.
It is also the symbol of Aberdeen.
Yes.
And it is also symbolic of resilience and like overcoming and bravery. So it's become our own kind of camouflage for our what we call our leopard print army.
Yeah.
So we would absolutely love it if you would join us and if you would wear leopard print.
And if you don't wear leopard print, you don't have to. We're not saying you're not going to get in. I mean, put on your leopard print pants or your leopard print socks. Join us in solidarity that way. There's no pressure, and there's no pressure about what you wear. Like,
come as you are.
Come as you are.
Whoever you are.
Yeah.
Whatever age you are, even as long as you're over 18, whatever gender you are, and whatever stage you're at in your diagnosis or knowledge about ADHD, just join us.
Yeah.
It's bloody special, and we can't wait to see you.
We really can't. So exciting.
Let's go.
Let's go.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ADHD as females, the podcast.